Hello, how are you guys? So we're going to be working on things like anxiety and confidence within these videos, and I know it's a really important topic and something people are working on a lot at the moment. And I know that during COVID things seemed to be heightened, but I do believe that kind of brought out the best of us and the worst of us. But when I say it brings out the worst of us, I don't mean that in a really negative way. I think it really highlighted to ourselves who we were, what we wanted, what we were willing to put up with, and kind of recognised our behaviours. So I think all round, as much as it wasn't a very nice and pleasant time, and obviously a lot happened, I think a lot of people have come out of COVID in a different and better frame of mind, knowing themselves. They're more self-aware. And anxiety isn't just about your state of mind. Anxiety can be due to so many other factors. The thing is with anxiety, often things are triggered by other people. And it might not be that person's done anything in particularly bad to you, but it might sort of give you a memory or that feeling of something that happened a very long time ago. And then coping strategies come in, automatic responses deal with that. And then what happens is people tend to focus on the actual event that's happened to trigger it, but not what the actual trigger was and where that trigger comes from initially. And then that's when we sort of get people falling out with each other, pointing blame and kind of disassociating themselves from the real problem and blaming the immediate situation for a learned response. We're going to get straight into it, and we're going to talk about what anxiety generally is on a biological kind of platform. So we know that when we get scared and when we feel uncomfortable, that our adrenaline will kick in order to help us be prepared. You know, it's that fight or flight, isn't it? That's the caveman approach, that when we know we're going to go into action, it gives us that adrenaline to keep us moving forward, to get the tasks done. And that is controlled primarily by our nervous system. So we have obviously we have our brains on our heads, and we have the nervous system that comes down into the spinal cord and feeds to the rest of the body and gives responses and action to the body. And we have something called the autonomic nervous system, and it sends signals to what we should do at the right times. Now, I'm not a scientist. This is not about science for me in such a respect, because I'm a yoga instructor and I have to teach anti-anxiety techniques to my students, but knowing this kind of more scientific background has definitely helped with that. So within our autonomic nervous system, we have something called an SNS. So sympathetic nervous system. And we have something called a parasympathetic nervous system, PSNS. See, my words get very mixed up. Now they both counteract each other, so that when we are sort of facing that threat, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and it's what tells the organs to respond, the heart rate to rise, the flushing of the skin, the adrenaline to kick in, and that's our fight or flight. And then when we want to calm down, and when we calm down, our parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, and that's what gives us that rest and digest. It's when we've had that activity and it calms us down, it puts us into that recuperation of the body to digest what's happened and makes us nice and feel really calm. What the problem is in this day and age is that, I shouldn't be laughing really because it's not funny, but our anxieties and our sympathetic nervous system response is trigger happy. There is so much going on. There's so many things that we're, over the time of our lives, through generations and through what we've been taught from our lives and what we've learned and how we've dealt with stuff. We've learned to suppress things. We've learned to put coping strategies in place which aren't necessarily healthy for ourselves. So there could be something as simple as somebody wears the wrong kind of perfume or particular perfume that triggers a memory, and you can automatically have an anxiety attack, and you won't know why you're having an anxiety attack. You won't know that perfume's done it. It's just pulling something from your subconscious memory that something's not right, and your body responds to protect you. And if anybody has had proper panic and anxiety attacks, they'll know that they are debilitating, they are frightening. You can feel they're coming, you don't know how to calm yourself down, and that alone makes the problem even worse. And it's almost like you can feel it come up your body and over your head. You can feel those chemicals kick in, and you can't control. The actual response is mere minutes, really. That that 20-minute response window, maybe less than that, where you feel this anxiety and it comes and goes, it's a very small portion of your life, but it has such an impact on you that it gets to the point where you feel that you can't go out, because what if it happens to you? One of the things I was taught when I used to have anxiety attacks was that if I was feeling very panicked, was to look around and instinctively pick somebody that I know that would be sympathetic to me and go up to them and say, look, I'm really, really sorry, but I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack. You don't need to do anything, but can you just sit with me? Can you just stand with me? Can you just wait till it passes? If someone's with me, it'll be a lot less. And that's happened to me before. And the human being, the human race generally are lovely people. People want to help people. People are going through this thing on a regular basis. You're not alone. So if you said that to somebody, the chances are that they would support you and stand with you, and you say thank you and you move on. And just having that confidence to go up to someone is going to dispel a lot of the anxiety that comes in. I can remember travelling to America, having a huge panic attack, and stopping in a hostel and there was two young men in my hostel. I just said, I'm having an anxiety attack, can you sit with me? And both of those spoke to me about how they have had them in the past and what problems they'd had in the past. And that was a really comfort, because it wasn't that I was reveling in their misery, but it just made me realise that I wasn't alone in it. And sort of just opening up like that meant I could talk about how I was feeling, they could talk about how they were feeling. And it really did dispel and get rid of some of that anxiety. So we have got sort of a trigger-happy sympathetic nervous system. And our parasympathetic nervous system, which helps us calm down, can be brought in very, very, very effectively if we know certain skills. So one of the skills that we have, that obviously I'm a yoga instructor, is doing things like yoga that can calm the body down. Doing things like dancing, listening to certain sound frequencies can often calm the body down and make people feel a lot calmer. Being around friends can do that. So there's actually quite a long list of things that can bring that nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, into play. Unfortunately, when you're in the midst of an anxiety attack, the last thing you want to do is sit down and do yoga, or start dancing in the middle of the street. But that doesn't mean there aren't things that we can do in order to activate the parasympathetic nervous system very, very quickly in times of big distress. And also, when we do activate it in the way I'm about to show you, it kind of, if we feel that trigger coming along, and we feel that anxiety attack coming along, we can look around to see what's about us, and we put this technique, which I'm about to show you, into play. It can actually dispel that trigger for the future. So 70% of the parasympathetic nervous system is called the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve runs from behind the ears up into the scalp, all the way down the neck, and all the way down the body in towards the heart. Now, it's a large nerve, and actually some people do find if they've got neck injuries and things, it can be interrupted. This nerve it doesn't send the signals as well as it can do. But we can stimulate this nerve, this vagus nerve, in order to bring in sort of calmness and clarity into our being and how we're feeling. And it's so simple. So if we think about sort of that it comes into the back of the ears, into the earlobes, and then down into the neck, then very quickly, if we're having an anxiety attack, we can start manipulating these areas very gently in order to help dispel that problem. So what do? Well, first of all, what we can do is we can separate our fingers into two, put one in front of the ear, one behind, and we're just going to push with quite a lot of force behind the ear, up, breathe in. And as we exhale, we're just going to pull down. Feel that move down, and again. And you want it to become quite rhythmic, sending rhythmic signals. And again. I'm just going to do that a couple more times. And if you're doing this along with me, you might notice that even though you're not having an anxiety attack, it actually brings a lot of calmness into your body, so it can help you sleep and help you deal with just everyday life, everyday stress if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. We can turn the ears over, so we can rub around the back of the ears, over the top, folding the ears, really stimulating all the way behind the back of the ears and causing a little bit of action in the front of the ears here. So just letting that move, really nice open movements. We can take hold of the bottom of the ear, just holding on to it, and we can manipulate the earlobe. Your ears are going to look very red after this, but that's okay. And then we can just gently pull it down, take a breath in. We can just put our fingers in the ears here and just pull them out slightly to the side so we can feel a bit of a pull against the scalp. And we can lift them up. We can bring it to the top of the ears and we can lift up. And release. If we can put our fingers inside our ears here and just massage all the way along the hardness of the ears, all the way up into the creases of our ears here and back down again, just little rounded motions, slow rounded motions into the creases. We can take it up to the top of the ears and just very gently. You can do one ear at a time, both ears. And then all the way back down. And you might find as your thumbs slide along, it feels so nice that you might feel like, yes, my thumb needs to go there, my finger needs to do that. We can put our fingers in our ears, in the holes in our ears, and push back on the back of our ear, on that hole, that entrance. And little tiny movements. Or you can keep it still. Nice and gentle. Closing my eyes because I'm dropping off to sleep. And then finally finishing with that nice rhythmic. And you don't have to do this for 3 minutes and then think you're going to be better. If you're having anxiety, you can do it the whole time. Because what also it will happen, just bring those hands down, what also will happen is as you're concentrating on what you're doing, with trying to stimulate that vagus nerve, your attention is taken off the immediate problem and your concentration will distract you from some of those responses. So it's just and the more you do this when you start to feel an anxiety attack, the more you'll, when you start to feel it and you start to touch, your subconscious will think, oh look, we're going into a calm place now. The parasympathetic nervous seems to come in, and it'll give you that calmness a lot quicker. There is another way that we can calm down the nervous system when it takes control as well, and that is through our breathing. And sort of rhythmic breathing is so important. So relaxing your shoulders and making sure you're nice and stacked through the vertebrae. I'm just going to put your hands on your diaphragm down here, and you're just going to have a nice big deep breath in and just feel the hands begin to part in the diaphragm. And as you exhale, contract your tummy muscles, contract up into the diaphragm and push that air out. And we're going to do this again, so big deep breath in. And contracting from the tummy first and up and underneath the rib cage. And this is just a very basic breath to start with, but we're going to add some counts into it. So because when we're in that throes of anxiety, we need that distraction. If we start to count and we breathe in this way and we concentrate on our breathing, again, it's going to dispel a lot of that fear that comes up. So we're going to breathe in for a nice long count of 4, and then we're just going to breathe out for the same amount of time. So breathing in. And exhaling. And again, breathing in. Exhaling, stomach first. And again. And letting it go. That's a really, really basic breath. You know, when they say breathe in and count to 10, what it's trying to do is implicate and activate your parasympathetic nervous system to dispel the anger, to calm the sympathetic nervous system down so that your immediate response is less volatile. So they're things for you to practice. And just even if you're going to bed to sleep at night time, practicing that breath, you can do it for as long as you might even just fall off to sleep. Or if you feel anxious or tired, rubbing around the ears. And let's see how that goes. Okay, best of luck, and we'll see you in the next video.